The pressure is mounting on Russia's economy, its energy infrastructure, and even its international partners. Russia's economy is faltering, drone strikes hit oil facilities, gas prices soar, and Hungary lashed out at Ukraine. The fallout from the war is spreading far beyond the front lines. That's in our episode. Let's connect the dots and keep you in focus. Stay with us for the latest updates and exclusive reports. Russia's economy is cracking, and fast, due to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Just in July, the Kremlin racked up a $15 billion budget deficit, according to the Center for Countering Disinformation under Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. That's already more than a quarter of the finance ministry's forecast for the entire year. Sanctions are biting, oil and gas exports are falling, and Moscow's war chest running dry. Watch for more details on this.
Vladimir Putin convened a meeting on economic issues with the Prime Minister, the head of the central bank, and the ministers of economic development and finance to discuss the preparation of the new federal budget. Putin claimed the budget remains stable and even boasted of increased tax revenues from the oil and gas sector. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance reported a record budget deficit, reaching nearly 5 trillion rubles by the end of July.
This is primarily due to advanced financing of expenditures in January this year, as well as a decline in oil and gas revenues from a Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation.
As for expenditures, they rose by 21% in 2025, while revenues increased by only 3%. The backbone of the federal budget, profits from energy resource sales, dropped by 19% over 7 months.
The decline in the sector's profitability is linked to the simultaneous combination of several factors: falling global oil prices, stricter tax requirements, and sanctions restrictions. These factors increase risk to the sector's financial stability and force the Kremlin to seek new strategies to adapt to global economic challenges. From a Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine on Telegram.
The original 2025 budget plan set the deficit at 0.5% of GDP. In June, the State Duma revised the budget, tripling the deficit level. It is unlikely that even this limit will be met. According to Russian media, the Ministry of Finance is preparing for another increase in the deficit. Analysts believe this is the Kremlin's only option, as Putin will not agree to cut spending on the military-industrial complex or the ongoing war against Ukraine.
Over the remaining 4 months, even reducing the whole to the acceptable levels set in the revised budget will be extremely difficult. Neither social expenditures nor the increased utility costs in the public sector can be cut, and hardly anyone would dare to underfund the military-industrial complex. Thus, at best, the deficit will amount to about 5.5 to 6 trillion rubles by year-end. Maxim Blant, economic commentator and publicist, in an op-ed article for Radio Free Europe.
The deficit will likely be covered at the expense of ruble stability, experts explain. The first possible method is issuing federal bonds, which would bring some funds to the budget but accelerate inflation. The second is devaluing the ruble, which Moscow has already significantly overvalued. This would lead to record price increases, particularly for consumer goods.
In other words, to get more rubles for a conditional oil dollar due to devaluation. But this is a double-edged sword. If you lower the exchange rate to around 110 rubles per dollar, all prices in the country tied to imports will automatically rise by 25%. Because at the moment, Russia is heavily dependent on imports, primarily from China.
Additionally, hidden unemployment is rising in Russia, despite official unemployment being at a historic low. Even the Kremlin dictator acknowledged this. According to Putin, since the beginning of the year, the number of people sent on furlough or part-time work has risen to 200,000. Key automotive enterprises have announced a switch to a 4-day work week. Since August, Kamaz and Gaz have moved to a 4-day schedule, and Avtovaz will soon follow. In late July, the Likinsky bus plant adopted a shortened work week, while the Pavlovsky bus plant halted production entirely. Starting October 1st, Russia's largest cement producer, Samros, which manages 18 plants, will shift to a reduced work week. Employees of Russian railways have been sent on unpaid leave until the end of the year. Reported by Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.
Hungary has accused Ukraine of launching a drone attack on the distribution station of the Druzhba oil pipeline in Russia's Bryansk region. The accusation came from Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó. Yes, the same Szijjártó who recently blamed Ukrainian and European politicians for the US President Donald Trump's failure to bring peace to Ukraine. According to Szijjártó, the Druzhba pipeline supplies oil to Hungary and plays a key role in the country's energy security. He added that Budapest is particularly outraged by the attack, especially considering that Hungary is currently one of Ukraine's main electricity suppliers, and without that support, Ukraine's energy security would become rather unstable. Szijjártó wrote, "We strongly urge Ukraine not to jeopardize Hungary's energy security and to stop attacking the energy infrastructure that supplies Hungary in the war that we Hungarians have nothing to do with." 3 exclamation points. But Ukrainians do care about this war, and when a major oil refinery is supplying the Russian military, they have every right to strike it. If you're looking for someone to blame, blame Russia. And recently attacked Saratov oil refinery has halted oil intake, reports Bloomberg, citing sources. Since the beginning of August, several key facilities in Russia's oil refining sector have been hit by UAV attacks. As a result, gasoline prices across the Russian Federation are rapidly increasing. More on this from Andriy Dmitrenko.
The Russian government is preparing an urgent meeting with the representatives of the largest oil companies due to the crisis in the fuel market, Russian media reported, citing sources. They will discuss how to prevent retail prices for gasoline from rising above the inflation rate. Since the beginning of the year, AI-92 gasoline has risen in price by a third in the federation and AI-95 by almost a half. The meeting, with the participation of Deputy Prime Minister Novak, is scheduled for August 14th.
According to Rosstat, for the second week in a row, the growth in the cost of gasoline at gas stations exceeds the overall inflation rate. In addition, the meeting participants will discuss the operation of the gasoline export ban mechanism and make proposals for its further application. From a report in Russian media,
the jump in gasoline prices is due to a decline in fuel production, and its cause is drone strikes on oil refineries in the aggressor country, such as the attack of Ukrainian drones on the Saratov oil refinery on the night of August 10th. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed the hits on the facility.
As a result of the UAV's impact on the territory of the enterprise, explosions and a fire were recorded. The Saratov oil refinery is one of the key facilities of the fuel infrastructure of the Russian Federation, involved in providing the occupation forces with oil products. Its annual refining capacity is 7 million tons of oil. From the message of the General Staff of the AFU on Facebook.
According to Bloomberg, after the UAV attack, the Saratov oil refinery stopped accepting oil. Its long-term shutdown could have a significant impact on domestic gasoline supplies, experts believe. Earlier, the General Staff of the AFU confirmed the hits of the Afipsky oil refinery in Krasnodar Krai. Its annual processing volume is slightly less than that of the Saratov oil refinery, more than 6 million tons. In August, the Ryazan and Novokuybashevsk oil refineries also suffered from attacks by UAVs of the Ukrainian Defense Forces.
When the first strikes began, they were stretching a net, meaning they were putting some machine guns around the refinery, and it turns out that none of this works. That is, all these billion-dollar investments by oil giants in the security of oil refineries turned out to be a dud. This is not some hangar or even a workshop. This is a huge territory, like a city, the territory of an oil refinery. You can't cover a city with a net. Therefore, there is only one option. Either resign yourself and tolerate the rise in prices, the gasoline shortage, or solve the problem. Well, somehow ending this whole story with aggression.
On August 10th, drones also attacked an oil refinery in Ukhta, almost 2,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. The Kremlin understands that it cannot protect its strategic facilities throughout Russia, which is why it is talking about a possible so-called air truce. Analysts say the Belarusian dictator voiced this proposal, but the idea belongs to Putin.
Putin needs to make some step, propose some decision, or be left without gasoline, without fuel, and fuel is the lifeblood of the economy. Accordingly, he has a choice to either move some incredible efforts of force to protect the refineries, remove the air defense from the front, or, I don't know, throw billions of rubles into some new technologies. Surely it was Putin's idea, and not Lukashenko's about the air truce, because for Putin this is the most terrible thing.
While gasoline is becoming more expensive in Russia, oil prices are falling on world markets. Reuters reported a 4% drop in world fuel prices when OPEC plus countries are increasing production. The Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine reported that the Kremlin is preparing for the oil price to fall to $40 per barrel, which is almost $30 less than planned in the aggressor country's budget for 2025. Reported by Andriy Dmitrenko, Pavlo Shtelmach, UATV News.
What's your take on all of this? Share your thoughts below. This is UATV. Stay sharp, in focus, and stay safe.